You're listening to The People's Voice, March 16th to 31st, 2024. The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation, which represents over 13,000 teachers, is launching another round of province-wide job actions. The union began with a series of mini rallies at government MP offices across the province in October and November, engaging parents, students, and community members for support. Today, more than 125,000 people, or 1 in 10 residents of the province, are calling on the government to protect public education. Despite the union's escalating campaign and enormous public support, the Moe government still refuses to negotiate the issues of class size and is instead trying to frame wages as the main issue. But this struggle is not confined to Saskatchewan, as governments of all political stripes try to minimize funding for education as well as healthcare and other key social services. This is one reason the Saskatchewan teachers have received such widespread support. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, the largest military organization in the world, marks its 75th anniversary on April 4th, just ahead of the NATO summit in the United States. This occurs while NATO mobilizes for a massive round of war games, involving tens of thousands of troops from various European nations as a signal that it is seeking to launch a renewed confrontation against Russia. To fund its aggression, NATO continues to pressure member nations to contribute 2% of their GDP, which for Canada would amount to $50 billion of public funds that could be used to fund healthcare, education, Indigenous child welfare, or introduce any number of much-needed social reforms. Canada is currently spending almost $74 billion in an effort to build F-35 fighter jets designed to carry a B-61-12 nuclear bomb. Ottawa has committed another $84 billion to build 15 warships and another $306 billion to maintain them over the course of their lifetime. When it comes to fighting poverty and climate change, there isn't enough money, but when it comes to war with Russia and China, Canada commits hundreds of billions of dollars. On February 29th, Manitoba's NDP government announced their Community Safety Plan, which not only fails to address any root causes of crime, but attacks the province's most vulnerable. The plan introduces investments in monitoring and supervision, better data collection, stronger policies for Crown attorneys, and more tools for law enforcement. This announcement arrives as a clear statement of priorities, a pander to the police and a right-wing city government. It's the kind of sweeping law and order strategy that always accompanies larger designs on austerity. 10 years ago, almost 55% of people in custody across Canada were legally innocent and awaiting trial, sometimes for up to a year. By 2022, that number had increased to more than 70%, and in Manitoba is as high as 75%. Despite touting the TRC's calls to action, this policy not only potentially defies the TRC and basic charter rights, but contradicts the massive evidence against what is essentially preemptive policing. In addition, the NDP has also planned to contribute another $4 million to the Winnipeg Police Service, $500,000 of which is designated for an enhanced community monitoring and supervision program. The NDP justified these discriminatory measures out of concern for survivors of intimate partner violence, but it is clear that the Winnipeg Police Service is the real beneficiary of these policies. This ill-researched and prejudicial plan may come as a bitter disappointment to anyone expecting progressive policies from the NDP, but they are simply following through with the promises they made in their 2023 campaign, a new package of human rights violations passed off as community concern, indistinguishable from the work of their right-wing predecessors. As the war in Ukraine enters its third year, public opinion polls show that support for the war has fallen dramatically in Canada. Casualties are estimated at around 500,000, while over 12 million people have been displaced. But despite these concerns, the Canadian government is still pressing for continued war and Ukraine membership in NATO. On February 24th, 16 peace organizations across Canada signed and issued a statement calling on Ottawa to push for a ceasefire and negotiations. Several countries, including South Africa and China, have proposed concrete peace initiatives but have not been supported by Canada or other NATO countries. But instead of de-escalating the war or withdrawing Canada from NATO, which these peace organizations are calling for, Canada is committed to fighting this war to the very last Ukrainian. Workers at the Autoport Vehicle Processing and Transshipment Hub in Eastern Passage, Nova Scotia, went on strike on February 27th. The 239 workers, represented by Unifor Local 100, are seeking a fair wage and have already turned down the employer's offer of an 8% increase over 3 years. While the workers' union continues to bargain in good faith, the company, however, has planned to use scab replacement workers to undermine the leverage of the striking workers. This pre-planned action against the members' right to bargain and strike effectively takes advantage of provincial laws in Nova Scotia that do not explicitly ban the use of scab workers. While Bill C-58 makes its way into law at the federal level, anti-scab legislation is needed at the provincial level across Canada to protect workers' rights to bargain, strike, dispute, negotiate, picket, and settle fair contracts. That's all for now. For full stories and additional publications, check out pvonline.ca.